The other thing that I'm going to say is about the afternoon programme. I'm not going to say very much about it, but obviously we're looking at mudlarking, and we're looking at work on the Thames. We're looking at the relationship, I suppose, between mudlarks and archaeologists, which seems to me to be getting very, very close, which is a very good thing indeed. I mean, we've had mudlarks interested in other projects I've been involved in, including the Rose Theatre, and quite surprisingly, work that's being done in Highgate Wood, which is about as high above the river as you could expect to get on the North London hills. So it's very good that we're going to have these sessions this afternoon, some before tea, some afterwards. So I think the last thing I'm going to say now, and I no doubt I've been told I've forgotten something once I get to the back, is that the first contribution this afternoon is going to actually be from Jon Cotton. He was going to speak here, but as he's not able to be here, he's recorded it, and I think Jane is about to switch it on. Okay, so enjoy the session and see you all later. Okay?
I'm acting as the digital stand-in for Kate Sumble, who is Curator Archaeology at the New London Museum, and more importantly for our purposes today, lead curator of the exhibition Secrets of the Thames, Mudlarking London's Lost Treasures. Unfortunately for us, Kate has an important family commitment this weekend and is not able to be here as a result. But she sends her best wishes and urges you all to visit the exhibition, which opens in this building next month and runs through until March 2026, as you can see on the screen. Now, this is a good long run for a temporary exhibition, of course, and it underscores the importance of the contribution that mudlarks and mudlarking have made and continue to make to our developing understanding of the Thames and of London itself. Kate describes the upcoming exhibition as, above all, an exploration of love and desire, faith and loss, migration, community and culture, the stories of generations of people who have visited the city or called it home. New London Museum press release promises that the exhibition will showcase fascinating finds from the Thames foreshore and explore the role of mudlarks in uncovering thousands of years of human history. Objects to be shown will include a Tudor wool hat, a medieval gold ring inscribed "For love I am given," and a Viking dagger inlaid with the name Osmond, which you can see on the screen here. Intriguingly too, the exhibition will also recreate the experience of mudlarking on the foreshore and include behind-the-scenes information about how the museum records and researches its finds. It promises to be a stimulating, immersive experience. Now, the foreshore is in effect London's longest self-excavating archaeological site, washed by strong tides that surge in and out twice a day. But of course, no 2 days on the foreshore are ever the same as a result, as the everyday sounds of modern London fall away to be replaced by a lower, slower, and much more powerful ancient rhythm. This intertidal zone is the natural habitat of the mudlark, as it has been for centuries. But who are these people? Well, amongst the earliest mudlarks, perhaps, must be shoemaker John Rouge of Isleworth, who's recorded on a parchment roll of October 1467 as finding a talk of gold weighing 50 shillings sterling within that domain, probably in or close to the river. Sadly, the talk was seized by the Abbess of Sion, acting as an agent of the Crown, and was probably melted down for coin. The gold talk on the right of the screen here, one of two found at Moulsford, further up the Thames Valley in South Oxfordshire, and now in Reading Museum, is illustrative of the sort of object likely to have been found by John Rouge. Mudlarking only seems to have caught wider popular attention from the late 18th century onwards, with individuals such as Peggy Jones, who subsisted by wading into the river at Blackfriars to recover the sea coals that had fallen from ships unloading along the wharves, which she felt for with her feet. Such saleable detritus appears to have been the main goal for most mudlarks at this time, as Henry Mayhew and colleagues pointed out in London Labour and the London Poor. However, all that was about to change with the London Bridge episode of the 1830s to 1860s. Here, for the first time, and in the very heart of the city, opportunities for the large-scale recovery of ancient objects arose. Labourers engaged in the demolition of Old London Bridge and its replacement at first considered all the coins they met with as being merely old halfpence, which were worth nothing because they could no longer pass. But they soon discovered their error and have now all become connoisseurs. And I show here on the left of the screen a splendid image by George Schaff, which looks south with the old and new London bridges side by side. Charles Schroet-Smith, on the right of the screen here, was one of the first on the scene and quick to appreciate the importance of the objects being revealed, even going so far as to hire a boat to take him out to watch the operations at close quarters in midstream. He it was who traced the whereabouts of the dredged material to various localities on the foreshore, where, as he noted in his diary, more finds were recovered by the aid of juvenile auxiliaries. Having exhausted saleable items on their home patch of Shadwell, two enterprising shore rakers, Billy Smith and Charlie Eaton, hit on a novel idea: the mass production of fake antiquities in a small workshop on Tower Hill. Collectors and antiquarians, including Roach Smith and others such as Thomas Hugo, scrambled to purchase these novel and frankly bizarre artefacts, many naughtily supplied with bogus provenances, like the medal shown on the right, which purports to have been found when excavating the foundations of Hampton Court Bridge in 1865. All complete nonsense, of course. The so-called Shadwell shams were well named, but are now highly collectible. However, Billy and Charlie have reckoned without Henry Sire Cuming of Cuming Museum fame, who'd already located the site of the Battersea Shield by, as he says, dint of vigilant inquiry and the employment of means which it is not necessary to detail. Cuming seems to have blown the whole episode wide open by bribing fellow labourers to break into the Tower Hill workshop of Billy and Charlie and pinch the chalk moulds. In the early 20th century, George Fabian Lawrence suggested that the golden age of finds from the river and its foreshores had long passed. But still they kept coming. Based in a little shop on West Hill, Wandsworth, his 1929 paper in Archaeological Journal summarising his 40 years or more of dealing and collecting is absolutely seminal, as is Ivor Noel Hume's Treasure in the Thames, shown on the left of the screen here. But it was with the founding of the Society of Thames Mudlarks by a group of like-minded individuals such as Tony Pilson in the late 1970s that things became more organised. Here, on the right of the screen, Tony is shown top left of the group, along with curators Peter Stott in the glasses and Jeff Egan, who is kneeling behind a splendid bronze signalling trumpet found by members of the Society near Billingsgate. Important collections of pilgrim badges, bladed weapons, toys and buttons were soon amassed by Tony and others, with many eventually accessioned by the Museum of London. Another such piece acquired in my time at the museum is this fine, slender iron dagger in its wooden sheath, held here by its finder, a youthful Andy Johansson, who was a regular visitor and who I came to know well during my time at the museum. He's still happily at work on the foreshore and continues to report his finds. The work of the Mudlarks also came to be celebrated by artists like Alice Patullo, who produced the striking evocation of mudlark finds on the right of the screen here. Sadly, the limited edition of her eye-catching print has unfortunately long since sold out, but it is a really striking image, I think you'll agree. Finds reported from the foreshore were occasionally accompanied by interesting sidelights. One such came to us in 1993 with the discovery of a pair of Bronze Age spearheads reported as having been found amongst a series of timber piles close to Vauxhall Bridge. The finder thought it was worth our while going down and having a look, which we did. Radiocarbon dating demonstrated that the timbers were at least Middle Bronze Age in date and broadly contemporary with the spearheads. The bridge or jetty structure of which they formed part was later featured in a Time Team programme, which gave some of us our 15 seconds of fame. This Vauxhall episode was noteworthy in been helping prompt the Thames Archaeological Survey and the compilation of baseline data. The TAS was active between 1996 to 1999, during which time large numbers of foreshore features were recorded, many for the first time. They included the remains of Saxon and medieval fish traps, on the left of the screen here, and the river stairs seen here on the right, being recorded by Gustav Milne and others. The TAS was succeeded by the Thames Discovery Programme, or TDP, which ran from 2008 onwards. This took on a wider role, eventually morphing into Citizen, a national programme of intertidal recording, which is still underway. At the same time, the passing of the Treasure Act in 1996 and the implementation of the Portable Antiquities Scheme provided a solid national framework for the recording of finds. London soon began to make an important contribution, with many finds reported by mudlarks as part of their licensing agreement with the Port of London Authority. The map on the screen here, put together by Ben Pates for a Lammas conference talk in 2015, underlines just how important the river finds were. Many came from the city reaches and further upstream to the west, though more recently finds have been reported from reaches downstream of the city and have started to redress the overall distribution pattern as a result. The mudlarking community as we find it today is an ever-growing group of history hunters of all ages, though their practice owes more to the Society of Thames Mudlarks than to the destitute scavengers recorded by Mayhew in the 19th century. The popularity of the pursuit cannot be doubted, as you can clearly see here on the Tower foreshore on the right of the screen. As a result, over 5,000 finds cross the desk of Finds Liaison Officer Stuart Wyatt each year, of which around 700 are recorded in detail on the Portable Antiquities Scheme database, most coming from the Thames foreshore. Furthermore, growing popularity of this branch of citizen science, if you like, is reflected in the increasing demand for foreshore licenses and in the appearance since lockdown of a stream of books celebrating the world of the mudlark, some of which you can see on the screen here. Finally, a word or two about the four speakers this afternoon, all of whom carry with them a wealth of experience and knowledge. Pamela Greenwood is a long-standing member of the Wandsworth Historical Society who've been monitoring the changes wrought on the foreshore in the Putney-Wandsworth reaches since the 1960s. Tom Chivers is the author of London Clay, Journeys in the Deep City, described as London Re-Enchanted, a multi-layered meander through a landscape at once familiar and strange, whose current PhD research is focused on mudlarks and mudlarking. Claire Harris is Public Impact Officer at Mola, where she has been responsible, amongst much else, for organising a pop-up exhibition of finds from the Thames foreshore as part of the Thames Discovery Programme's River Recoveries project. And last, but by no means least, an old friend of Lammas in this conference, Jon Clark, who has spent decades, both before and since retirement from the Museum of London, studying the Saxon and medieval finds from the river in an attempt to tease out their significance. It promises, therefore, to be an engaging and exciting session. And in handing you back to our chair, one last plug. Please do come and visit the exhibition Secrets of the Thames, Mudlarking London's Lost Treasures, which launches downstairs on April the 4th. So, back to you, Harvey.
Jon, thank you very much for recording what essentially what you would have said had you been here today. And it was a very clear exposition, of course, of the situation, and it brings together both this afternoon's session and the exhibition, which will be coming here soon.